The journey for every architect has been different.
So, do you think this will help students? Do you think this will help new professionals?
अभी हमारा देश जिस स्टेट में है, मुझे लगता है कि there is a need for architects to break that silo and come out of it.
Yeah.
Information is freely available, right?
Of course.
But decoding and assimilation of that information is something which is a big challenge.
We don't. We are a society that still thinks that the professional fee paid to a professional is just an additional cost. पहले ज़रूरत आई, ज़रूरत के बाद ये देखा हमारे पास अवेलेबल क्या था, इंसान अवेलेबल थे और रॉ मटेरियल अवेलेबल थे.
So these are subtle benefits of design terrace. So architecture की मैं बात कर रही हूँ, but मैं lifestyles की बात कर रही हूँ, मैं beliefs की बात कर रही हूँ, मैं passing on of values and knowledge to the generations की मैं बात कर रही हूँ, जो शायद कोई सोचता भी नहीं होगा कि कोई architect, through their buildings pass on कर सकता है.
डिजाइन जर्नीज क्यों?
Long story. So should I tell you in detail or should I tell you in a nutshell?
जैसे आपको अच्छा लगे.
So कुछ टाइम से मेरे मन में ये thoughts थे, of course, that I wanted to put a podcast together. And podcast is, I think, just a medium through which I can reach out my thoughts to a larger number of people.
Yeah.
But I felt that for different, there were several experiences which happened with me in the last 1 year. So my daughter joined architecture, and before she joined architecture as a course, she had so many questions. So she was trying to understand what architecture field is all about. All those questions which, when you look at Google, you'll find out, is it a good profession? Is it paying? What kind of life do you have? So on and so forth. And when we started seeking the answers to those questions, I realized that there is no one clear answer. So many architects that I know of, they may be my colleagues, juniors, my team members. I think the journey for every architect has been different, right?
Absolutely, yes.
So I thought that it is not a linear journey, it is several design journeys, right? So I felt a need to document those journeys, those paths, and put it out there for people who may have similar questions. So that was one of the reasons. The other thing was that from my own journey, I felt that there is a certain approach to the work that I bring, right? Yeah. And उसमें बहुत सारी ऐसी चीजें हैं जो commonly people don't understand. Like people think that okay, architect's role is limited to certain aspects of design like this. But like I was mentioning to you earlier, government policies, for example, right, have a very deep impact on the kind of buildings, the kind of infrastructure, especially if I look at planning projects that gets built in our cities. So अभी हमारा देश जिस स्टेट में है, मुझे लगता है कि there is a need for architects to break that silo and come out of it and talk about what are those things that impact your work. Okay. So policies could be one of them. Talking about the right technologies, the new upcoming technologies could be another one. How the professional practices vary across cities, across people's languages, so things like that. So I thought the design journeys is a nice term which captures the variety of this entire plethora of words. So that's why design.
तो आपको पता है ना कि मैं क्या सवाल पूछता हूँ हमेशा. मेरा हम सबसे पहले शुरू होता है क्यों, right?
Definitely, and that's a good start.
Right.
Yeah.
क्यों के बाद आता है किसके लिए. So who are you doing this for?
I don't know. Actually, I don't have an answer, and to be honest with you, I'm also very nervous because I don't know who this is for.
So, do you think this will help students? Do you think this will help new professionals? Do you think it is a open platform for pretty much everybody?
For sure, I think that what I will attempt to do is कि मेरे 20 साल की जर्नी में जो मैंने चीजें सीखी, probably करके सीखी, गलतियां करके सीखी, experiences लेके सीखी, उनको कहीं ना कहीं मैं निचोड़ के बहुत सिंपल वे में लाने की कोशिश करूंगी, सो दैट चाहे वो स्टूडेंट्स हों या यंग आर्किटेक्ट्स हों या एंड यूजर्स हों, क्लाइंट्स हों, उनको उन सवालों के जवाब मिल सके. एक चीज मैं बहुत स्ट्रांगली मानती हूँ कि इन टुडेज डे एंड एज अवेलेबिलिटी ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन इज नॉट अ प्रॉब्लम. Information is freely available, right? But decoding and assimilation of that information is something which is a big challenge.
Okay.
Because it's like surfing. it is said for a reason. You start surfing and then you're from one wave to the other.
Yeah.
You're on the internet.
And then you crash
And
also so many times.
You crash also, and you've forgotten what you had started, where you wanted to go.
Exactly.
So you've just surfed and then come back with no results.
Yeah.
That also happens. So I think podcasts do that. No, you're looking to hear somebody's perspective, or you're looking to get some answers or some ideas to trigger your own thoughts.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like your journey, or are you going to invite people over for sharing their own journeys?
I am looking forward to invite a lot of people, interesting people like you.
Yeah.
So to share about your journey of podcasting, and I thought you have been very inspiring for me, because I got invited to your podcast and I kind of understood that this is a very nice way of, sort of taking your voice to a larger set of masses. What is your experience as a podcaster?
I love conversations. I love conversations which can actually give you something. You know what I mean? मेरा ये मानना है कि हम किसी से कुछ एक्चुअल टैंजिबल नहीं ले सकते. वो उसके लिए हम बिजनेस कर रहे हैं सुबह से शाम, राइट, ऑन आवर वीक डेज. बट वीकेंड्स पे आई थिंक वी नीड टू फुलफिल आवर सोल्स. दैट इज द काइंड ऑफ थॉट प्रोसेस आई हैव, कि सैटरडे संडे कुछ ऐसा होता है जो हमारी क्रिएटिव साइड को ट्रिगर करे. फॉर्चुनेटली यू आर समबडी हु इज क्रिएटिव. यू आर ऑलरेडी working as a creative head of a firm, and you're working towards design and bunch of other things where you're creating something in any case in the real world. For me, it was not happening. For me, creating something is out of the magic that comes out of 2 people talking, 3 people talking, 4 people talking, and then 5 people is usually a crowd, but even those conversations are fun. तो मैंने बड़ी जल्दी realize कर लिया था that podcasting is just a medium basically. ठीक है, आजकल फैशन में भी है. But it sounds for me like it's worthwhile having that conversation with somebody where you can bring out some beautiful aspects of any discussion that you take it to, any direction that you take it to, right? जैसे आप design journeys की बात कर रहे हो, I'm fairly certain that if you have a guest on the platform where you guys sit down and talk about design journeys, of course there'll be an architect or a designer as well, right? तो आप दोनों relate कर पाओगे और काफ़ी अच्छी इंटरेस्टिंग बातें निकल के आएंगी उसमें से. सो मैंने पूछ लिया आपसे क्यों, मैंने पूछ लिया किसके लिए. क्यों और किसके लिए?
मैं आपसे एक सवाल पूछूं.
आप पूछिए.
तो आपने जब स्टार्ट किया, you said that you wanted to have a creative experience of creating that dialogue on the weekend days, but you started with a very unlikely subject, which is technical information about construction materials. So that's not sounding like fun. That's not sounding like stories for a non-architect and a non-engineer.
Absolutely. So I'm not an engineer. I'm not a civil engineer, and I'm not an architect. But it's my age-old third generation business, which is into construction materials. I realize that I'm at the very center of the construction industry when you look at it. So I'm connected to different brands and their technical teams. When I say brands, construction material brands, and then their marketing heads and then their business heads. So एक वो इंडस्ट्री है जो मटेरियल्स वाली है जिससे मैं कनेक्टेड हूँ. फिर डायरेक्ट कस्टमर्स हैं जैसे बिल्डर्स एंड कॉन्ट्रैक्टर्स, एंड देन देयर आर ऑल्सो इन्फ्लुएंसर्स लाइक योरसेल्फ, लाइक आर्किटेक्ट्स एंड इंटीरियर डिजाइनर्स हु प्ले अ वाइटल रोल इन इट. So I realized that I am somebody who is consulting back and forth from the product knowledge till the user, right? So जब मैं वो medium बना ही हुआ हूँ, so it becomes easier for me to latch on to all these intelligent human beings and just ask them for like a few minutes of their time and then derive from their knowledge and share it with everybody, because internet is an open world, right? So कोई भी आपको access कर सकता है, कोई भी आपके पास पहुंच सकता है, and it sort of helps to throw out information out on the internet, because that gets spread pretty much everywhere. For my podcast, 93% of the audience is Indian, 7% of the audience is global, who can understand Hindi and English, of course, because we do it in Hindi and English. I did not know that there'll be people texting me from Dubai, Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, bunch of other countries, even Indonesia. I've had a lot of conversations with people from there. There was a couple of Vietnamese people who had basically contacted me, and they thought it'll be important for them to talk to me for some different materials they wanted to export to India. तो सोचा कुछ था, कहाँ पहुंचेंगे कभी नहीं सोचा था, but there was this pure thought in my brain that if nothing, then I will come out as somebody who learns a lot of things, So एक self education ही चल रही है, वो अभी भी चल रही है, and that is what happens when I talk to you all the time. So जब भी मैं आपके साथ बैठा हूँ, हमने 3 episodes अब तक रिकॉर्ड किए हैं एक साथ, and our conversation has always brought something new to me every time. And so yeah, so it's always learning only.
So when you started, what was that exact moment, if you remember, where you felt that you could do this and you
Oh.
wanted to do this?
Sadly, the only answer to this question is a little boring. And it's boring, I'll tell you why, because I don't like to talk about numbers, कि कितने followers, कितना क्या, but actual spring in my step happened when I got my first 1,000th follower on Instagram. And
That's on your personal page?
No.
On the podcast?
On the
तो
podcast.
podcast का आइडिया कहाँ से, किस दिन आया, कहाँ, मतलब कब आपने सोचा कि
podcast का आइडिया मुझे लास्ट ईयर आया,
हाँ.
जब मैंने सोचा कि मैं अपने एम्प्लॉइज के लिए ट्रेनिंग मैनुअल बनाऊंगा. And I wanted to basically start typing and create a book for them कि ये materials होते हैं, this is how steel is done, this is how cement is, ये grades होते हैं, ये IS codes हैं, and for them to learn and be on the job and understand and communicate to the customer. We are going to complete 60 years this year in our business, so I wanted to be that sort of a vendor or a trader to my customer who knows what he's selling.
Right.
I wanted to create that USP within my business. Then I realized यार ये अगर पढ़ लेते तो ये कुछ और कर देते रहे लाइफ में, right? So they won't study. So I thought I'll record audios for them and give them those audios on their phones and tell them कि
And you did that?
सीख के आना.
Did you do that?
So eventually कुछ और ही हो गया ना. तो जब मैं
फर्स्ट एपिसोड में आपको रियलाइज हो गया कि ये वीडियोस
पहले 5 I think till 3rd or 4th
and they were solo.
they were all solos. So first 3 episodes were solo. 4th I found this amazing structural engineer who had been practicing for more than 40 years. She was somebody who opened up my vision process, and she basically told me that I am living inside a well and there is just a huge universe out there of knowledge which I need to explore for myself as well. I learned a lot of things from her. So उनके साथ मैंने 3 episodes किए हैं टोटल हमारे इस टोटल जर्नी में. We are completing 53rd or 54th episode now in terms of recording. We posted 42-43 episodes by now. बट या तो वो करने के बाद तीसरे एपिसोड के बाद मुझे रियलाइज हुआ कि ये जो मैं बना रहा हूँ ये मैं यूट्यूब पे पोस्ट कर देता हूँ. इंस्टेड ऑफ गिविंग माय एम्प्लॉइज अ फाइल आई विल गिव देम एन ऑडियो लिंक और अ यूट्यूब लिंक. इट्स द सेम राइट. तो मैंने लैंग्वेज भी वो यूज की, हिंदी इंग्लिश का मिक्स करके. तो आई बेसिकली स्टार्टेड डूइंग इट फॉर पीपल हु डोंट नो एनीथिंग. I did not know कि there was an incumbency where this was required maybe. You know, so a lot of the followers are students जो civil engineering कर रहे हैं, बट ये रियल वर्ल्ड वाले इश्यूज या रियल वर्ल्ड वाली एप्लीकेशंस कॉलेज में नहीं सीख रहे हैं. सो दे लव फॉलोइंग द पॉडकास्ट. सेम इज ट्रू विद अ लॉट ऑफ आर्किटेक्चरल स्टूडेंट्स who follow it for the architects who come to the platform. We spoke about in one of the episodes, we spoke about challenges while renovating homes. लोग रेनोवेशन करके उस घर के फीचर्स दिखाते हैं अपने वीडियोस में बिकॉज इट सीम्स अट्रैक्टिव राइट.
बट ड्यूरिंग द कंस्ट्रक्शन क्या चैलेंजेस
क्या है और फिर उसका सोल्यूशन क्या निकाला उस चैलेंज का, वो कोई नहीं बात कर रहा. It's not to basically guide the people, but it is to market themselves rather than anything else. So that was never in the back of my head. I never wanted to market myself in any way. So it felt.
Did you also at some point think that this is a good way to connect with those engineers and those architects? I think must have come later, who were also in a way your influencers, like the people who would help spread the word about your team being knowledgeable.
So initially on, I did not know who to approach, right? What happened was the first 3-4 episodes that I had done solo, I had shared them to different people across the industry. Like I said, I was at the center. I felt I was at the center of the industry. Then feedback started coming in. Then one of the people basically asked me to go and meet that structural engineer, the iron lady that I met. And from then on, it just felt like I can contact more people. Maybe I need to look into more civil engineers. Maybe I need to stop and ask an architect friend to come over. Because I started with a very basic question. Why should you hire an architect? That's a whole episode. There's an episode which says, why should you hire a structural engineer? So these were very, very basic things which I personally did not know an answer to. Having been in my family business for like 15 plus years now, and I didn't know the answers to these questions, right? So it's better that I educate myself and the others. ये ज़रूरत होती है. और over the time I realized that we don't respect professionalism in India at all.
You think so?
100% we don't. We don't. We are a society that still thinks that the professional fee paid to a professional is just an additional cost. We think
Why do you say so?
ऐसा ही है, बहुत वो विजन ही नहीं है लोगों के पास, जो एक सही प्रोफेशनल को हायर करने के बेनिफिट्स उनको अभी से पता, एटलीस्ट. So I am not even exaggerating when I say 85% of the market is like that. People don't want to hire professionals, they want to do the job themselves. Even if they want to hire somebody, they don't want to pay them their worth. और कोई अगर ज़्यादा फी मांग देता है उसकी तो फीस बहुत ज़्यादा है. You know, so that is a challenge that we need to sort of come and understand that whatever fee you're paying to that professional, उससे कहीं ज़्यादा saving आप कर लेते हो.
Yeah, this is actually a very relevant question, because I mean, whenever as architects, when we are pitching for a project, we almost always have to sensitize the client regarding what are the benefits that we will bring to the table apart from designing your building.
Exactly.
So that's like basic level of understanding that you have to build. I mean, a lot of times people are aware, but they may not be aware about a certain set of aspects. इसका एक reason ये भी है that not all professionals may actually be giving you that, you know, benefit. So sometimes it becomes like a USP of that particular engineer or that particular architect.
That's possibly the case, but एक और चीज़ है, हमें अभी ना आज़ाद हुए 100 साल भी नहीं हुए, राइट? आज़ाद होने के अगले 50 साल स्ट्रगल के 50 साल थे. So अब वो सिचुएशन आ रही है जहाँ हम फाइनेंशियली इक्विप्ड हैं टू बिल्ड आवर ओन सिस्टम्स, बिल्ड आवर ओन बिल्डिंग्स, बिल्ड आवर ओन फैक्ट्रीज, बिल्ड आवर ओन वेयरहाउसेस, you know,
and focus on quality, focus on lifestyle.
We've started traveling abroad, we've started exploring the world. I'm sure now in India we have people who've traveled more than 50 countries, actually been there and done that, right? So now they understand what is happening outside and what's lacking here and how to achieve that quality which we aspire to achieve. Now they understand, अच्छा ठीक है नहीं यार, I need to hire the right people, I need to work with the right
people. So what kind of questions do you think I as an architect can bring to the table, which can actually help people? Because I mean, ultimately it should not be one-way monologue about my experiences, but it should be something which I can bring to the table, which will help others.
Firstly, not to flatter you, I think your experience is pretty deep, and I think you can, for like a good 6 months, you can talk about your experiences only. I don't think you'll run out of them. But yes, when you bring around people, you can ask them about pretty much every aspect of the building. For example, in the room that we're sitting right now, so you can talk about a terrace room on a terrace and how to create the perfect ambience for it and what is the purpose of it. Different people have different approaches towards the terrace, right? You can just talk about the terrace in an entire episode.
Yeah, for sure. More than one.
Exactly. So design एक ऐसी चीज़ है जिसके अंदर आप शायद अगले 10 साल तक भी कुछ आप क्रिएट करते रहोगे. नॉलेज तो वो कम ही रहेगी क्योंकि नॉलेज also keeps updating in this world, right?
Yeah.
Materials keep evolving. And I loved the history of construction, you know, when I sort of started reading it, because somebody asked me, I had recorded with somebody yesterday, and they are a real estate podcast. And they said, boss, मुझे construction के बारे में कुछ नहीं पता. Can you tell me what are the construction technologies available out there?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, technology came in much later. पहले ज़रूरत आई, ज़रूरत के बाद ये देखा हमारे पास available क्या था, इंसान available थे और raw material available था. Raw material evolve हुआ, technology evolve हो गई.
Technologically, since that documentation is lost, we may not be aware, but if you look at the temple construction, which is your present area of interest, I know, the temples are so advanced in their construction that it is actually virtually impossible that they were technologically not that advanced. I'm 100% sure that in past, India at least has had a huge, very scientific set of tools which were being used to build the buildings which are standing the tests of time like no one's business, you know.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
But ये अपने आप में एक पूरा एपिसोड है, पता है
आपको? Yes.
मेरा इसके बारे में एक पूरा ख्याल है, और वो मुझे लगता है कि जब पहले कुछ बनता था तो सबसे ज़्यादा जो पायस बिल्डिंग्स होती थी या इंपॉर्टेंट बिल्डिंग्स होती थी, तो राजाओं के महल होते थे या उनके फोर्ट होते थे, किले होते थे,
और टेम्पल्स,
या मंदिर होते थे, मस्जिद होते थे, जो भी,
और यूनिवर्सिटीज एंड लाइक यू नो सीट्स ऑफ, actually knowledge was a seat of power, right? So these are all seats of power. Seat of religious power or seat of
exactly
ruling,
and higher up the chain in the society also, right? Brahman, Kshatriya, वो सब भी था हमारे यहाँ.
But it was not, the Varna system was not by birth.
Of course,
I don't know if you're aware.
But पैसा यहीं था. They were the people who were the privileged ones, let's say, and they could have hired those people to do the job.
Yes.
अब social media का भी distraction नहीं था. So जो खाली बैठा है वो पत्थर को भी काटने में लगा है, तो पत्थर को काटना सीखा है उसने. So if there is somebody who's cleaning the roads, then they've found that cleaning the roads can become a self-cleaning system if you create proper drains. तो वो सीखा और उसको अप्लाई करते चले गए. ऐसे आर्टिजन्स बने थे इंडिया में, which is pretty much a dying breed now in the country. I don't know if it's re-evolving or not. You will know better. But artisans of India were some of the highest artisans in the world, right? हमने ऐसी ऐसी तरीके की पत्थर में नक्काशियाँ की हुई हैं जो कहीं शायद दुनिया में नहीं मिलती हैं. सो आप जो पुराना आर्किटेक्चर देख रहे हो या जो पुराना आप कुछ भी देख रहे हो, इट इज लॉन्ग लास्टिंग फॉर सम रीजन. Natural materials, crazy amount of manpower, but built over 10 years, 15 years, 30 years, 50 years. It took that much time.
And with a vision.
And with a vision.
So it was not like it's just, unplanned. Everything, not just vision, geometrical precision to the right latitude, longitude, looking at it, at a planet level, that, where are you aligning certain temples are aligned in a certain way. I was actually finding, when you were spoken about terraces, so actually, as you know, I have a green thumb and I like to put greens.
You have a whole green hand.
Literally everywhere. Like, even those Diwali के जो leftover tea lights होते हैं, मैं उसके अंदर भी plants लगा देती हूँ. So I make these dry planters for indoors and stuff like that. And I had, a couple of years back, I had done a small workshop for young entrepreneurs on my rooftop. And that was the first time where we had this very open dialogue and discussion as to what all terraces can be used for. You'd be surprised. Some of them were not so much into greens, right? But then their interests, so someone said that I have pets, right? Someone else said that, I do gymming. Somebody else said I do some other kind of an activity. And then by the end of the workshop, we actually came out with this whole concept that actually your terrace is it has the potential to be your piece of sky and your piece of ground. So it can be the ground beneath your feet. You can literally, like I have done, you can fill it in with mitti, you can create your own grass. And every morning when I walk barefoot on the grass, I have a problem in my eyes. So I keep telling myself that I need to take that kind of a... So I feel that grounding that they say when you walk on bare earth, that is happening. I don't have to go outside on the ground to do that. And trust you me when I say that, if you are using a terrace, then you will naturally be aligned with the cycles of nature. तो जिस दिन अमावस्या है, जिस दिन full moon है, आपको by default पता होगा कि the way the moonlight is, even if you're not clued in, you would know कि अच्छा हो, now you're at this part of the month, और अभी full moon होकर गया है, and you know that most of our Hindu, at least, festivals are related with the lunar cycle a lot. So it kind of keeps you in sync with nature in multiple ways. So that's one. The other thing that starts to happen, at least that had started to happen with me, was that you observe nature a lot more closely, right? So I do share this with some of my clients whenever I'm helping them, do up green spaces, that I started noticing certain birds make nests in certain kinds of trees, right? So I have a lemon tree right there, which has got very, very sharp thorns. So you cannot really even pluck a twig without getting, pricked. इतने छोटे छोटे उसमें कांटे हैं. And उसमें छोटी वाली birds आती है. So why छोटी वाली birds is because, and they have this very nice, sort of hairy cover. So they can go in and out of that little space very well, right? So the beak size of the birds is suited to go into certain flowers for, so you start observing these things. The other thing that, I will share with you is, you're a young parent, right? You're a parent of young children. And this is something that I noticed. I always wanted my children to get sensitized कि कौन सी चीज कहाँ उगती है. And the place where we were in earlier, we did not have any sun. It was a north-facing house, and we didn't have any lawn or anything, no greens really, and no terrace. So I had actually gotten this board game for my kids, where it was like they had to match one baby plant and a grown-up plant. So or the vegetable and the plant. So I was actually, it was my way of trying to force them to, learn this. Obviously, it didn't help. No child learns like this.
Very subtly
trust me, when I moved in, I didn't have to do anything. By default, when they start doing, when they start observing, और थोड़ा थोड़ा बच्चे जब involve होते हैं, तो अपने आप वो चीज़ें सीख जाते हैं, वो ये चीज़ अपने आप सीख जाते हैं कि क्या चीज़ किस सीजन में आती है या नहीं आती है। तो अब हमारे साथ क्या हो गया है, पिछले 6-7 साल से हम पूरी गर्मियों में गोभी छूते ही नहीं है, लाते ही नहीं है, छूते ही नहीं है, देखते ही नहीं है। द होल विंटर्स चाहे भिंडी मिल रही हो बाजार में, वी जस्ट डोंट गेट इट बिकॉज यू गेट इन सिंक विद द सीजन्स.
Yes.
सो दीज आर सटल बेनिफिट्स ऑफ डिजाइन टेरेस. सो आर्किटेक्चर की मैं बात कर रही हूँ,
Wow.
बट मैं लाइफस्टाइल्स की बात कर रही हूँ, मैं बिलीव्स की बात कर रही हूँ, मैं
Architecture
पासिंग
तो
ऑन
lifestyle-
ऑफ वैल्यूज एंड नॉलेज टू द जनरेशंस की मैं बात कर रही हूँ, जो शायद कोई सोचता भी नहीं होगा कि कोई आर्किटेक्ट थ्रू देयर बिल्डिंग्स पास ऑन कर सकता है.
Exactly.
तो इस तरह की बड़ी छोटी छोटी चीजें होती हैं जो शायद आई डोंट नो व्हिच प्रॉब्ली क्लाइंट्स नीड टू नो. सो मेनी टाइम्स आई हैव फाउंड क्लाइंट्स कि हमारे पास तो टाइम नहीं होता, हम नहीं कर पाएंगे. सो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि उस समय पे उनको सेंसिटाइज करने की जरूरत है कि देयर आर प्लांट्स which can be low on maintenance also, very very low maintenance plants, evergreen plants. You don't have to do things which require a lot of pruning or lot of sort of attention, but they can still do it. तो ये confidence लाना अपने आप में एक बहुत बड़ी बात है. तो I just kind of took that terrace वाला thing from you because that's a passion project for me.
You were talking about various uses of a terrace, right?
Yeah.
Delhi office भी तो terrace पे ही शुरू किया था. That's where you began. So you have this whole.
But that was not a green terrace.
Must not be, but you used a terrace to start your firm in Delhi, right?
Yes.
Your branch office in Delhi.
Yes.
So yeah, you have a long connection with terrace, and maybe one of the episodes should be about terraces explicitly.
Oh yes,
properly.
oh yes. And now I'm part of this whole community of kitchen gardeners and home gardeners. They are so knowledgeable. A lot of them, somebody specializes in orchids, somebody specializes in water based plants.
Yeah.
कोई flowers कर रहा है, कोई dried flowers के products बना रहे हैं. These are all home gardeners, like home bakers.
Wow.
And there's so much to learn from that community. And these people are by experience gardeners, right? So आप जब भी जाते हो, हर बार, even now I draw so much of an energy whenever we meet, like once in a couple of months. And every time there is so much to learn from each other, from the gardening and from space utilization perspective.
Isn't landscaping a part of architecture?
Very much a part of architecture, but landscaping, unlike what most people think, is not just hard landscaping. So softscaping and hard landscaping, vice versa. Most people think that it's just plants, whereas landscaping, hard landscaping is equally a part of the landscape part.
So we can hear from such knowledgeable people on design journeys in the future.
Yes, so in design journeys, I actually want to be bringing in people who are architects or design professionals, but who have gone on to specialize in a certain kind of a domain. And landscape architects are one such misunderstood, lesser known tribe, I would say, because most people think कि वो सिर्फ greening करते हैं, whereas actually that's not necessarily true. Do you know that you can actually create whole microclimates with the landscape?
Wow.
With landscape. If I want to, like, let's say this is a room which has got a lot of glass, right? And by purpose, I have kept an east-facing glass and a south-facing glass, because in winters we enjoy the south sun a lot, and every morning, of course, east sun is the best, as they say, and west and sort of north में तो sun आता नहीं है, so west has to be blocked, which we've blocked with this wall. So with the right greens, you can actually create more humidity. You can create a lesser effect of sun in certain seasons.
Okay.
And more. So, you can really curate microclimates with the help of softscape as well as landscape.
Wow. Interesting. I am very much in need of something like this in the very near future on my terrace, because it is similar geography. So for me, there's an east which is exposed, and there's a south which is exposed.
Okay.
In fact, it's southeast and southwest which are exposed. So I'm going to get sun pretty much around the year, but more in winters, I think. So yeah, ये छोटी-छोटी जो knowledge है, ये बहुत बड़े-बड़े काम करवा देती है, right? You mentioned in one of your projects in one of our episodes where you had created a green walkway for somebody.
Yeah, it was a green walk which we had done for the project for Hitachi, Johnson Controls Hitachi in Ahmedabad, and they actually have this. We were trying to build these 3 new blocks for them on a factory and an existing office. And what we noticed was, because Ahmedabad is so hot, and by the time people park their vehicles and walk to the office building, they've actually walked like 300-400 meters in sun. And In Ahmedabad, in Gujarat, even 9 o'clock in the morning can be very hot.
Very hot,
right?
yeah.
So we created this reception building, which was kind of tying the 3 blocks together, and we created this green walk in the middle,
Wow.
which is kind of, it is not air conditioned, it is air cooled, and we put a lot of greens there, which attract birds, which attract so much of nature, and
Yeah.
that by default has become like the sort of congregation area between the 3 buildings.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
so-
So again, you were talking about lifestyles being altered
Oh
by
yes,
architecture,
yes,
right?
yes, yes.
So you're basically altering mindsets while people are walking through that walk, and you're
Yeah.
giving them that momentary sense of comfort also.
Oh yes,
But that sort of becomes that oasis in that
yes,
dry
and
weather,
also
in that-
increasing efficiency, their
Of course.
work efficiency during
Yeah.
the day.
They want to take a break, they'll probably walk out through,
Yeah.
through that place and maybe
Yeah.
even stand there for like 5 minutes and
Yes.
they're refreshed.
Yes.
This is why I love architecture, not being an architect myself. This is why I've told you, like in the past also, that the reason I'm reading up on so many architectural books. काश मैं अभी आर्किटेक्चर कर पाता, सब चीज
You
छोड़ के।
can.
नहीं होगा, I'm sure, but
It's not impossible.
it's because for me architecture is not just a study, it's a mindset as well,
Yeah.
and it's a whole way of thinking,
Yes.
and that is what I've derived from you with my near experience that I've had these amazing conversations with you. I do think that you'll do pretty amazing with design journeys, so I wish you all the best with design
Thank you.
journeys. And I think this is the way to go. And I think I am going to be one of your first subscribers to the channel.
Thank you so
And
much.
yeah, so you're going to be out on YouTube and Instagram both, right?
Yes.
So what
I'm going to figure that out soon.
Okay, great. So whenever you decide your handles, please share them with us.
No, but I actually want to thank you for inspiring me
No.
to start and helping me actually clarify my own thoughts.
Yeah.
That, what is it that I can do or accomplish through design journey. So thank you so much for being our first guest on our podcast. And I have
Privilege is
really
mine.
loved interacting with you.
Same here.
It's been a lovely collaboration.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining in to listen to my first podcast, Design Journeys.